Good afternoon, esteemed viewers, and welcome to Panorama, live from Maiduguri Network Center. It is nearly 5 months since the coronavirus pandemic reached the shores of Nigeria, and it is still raging and covering a significant number of communities across the country. Now a public health crisis, COVID-19 numbers are increasing, despite efforts by authorities at all levels of government to mitigate the spread. Safety protocols, increased testing capacities, community awareness and enhanced precaution have not reduced vulnerability of communities, which remain breeding grounds for COVID-19. As communities continue to cave into increasing rate of infections, not much attention is being given to preventive measures such as social distancing, wearing face masks, avoiding congested environment, hand washing and sanitizing, while many still see COVID-19 as a myth or conspiracy theory. How can communities brace up for the challenges ahead to mitigate spread of COVID-19? How can citizens accept the reality that coronavirus pandemic is true and imbibe culture of safety? This is our focus today on Panorama. I am Muhammad Ibrahim. President Muhammad Buhari has formally signed into law 10.81 trillion naira revised 2020 appropriations bill recently passed by the National Assembly. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the new budget estimates now has 2.48 trillion naira for capital expenditure, 4.94 trillion naira recurrent, and 2.6 trillion naira for debt servicing. At the brief ceremony attended by presiding officers of the National Assembly, the President directed that efforts be made towards ensuring effective implementation. The report will be brought to you in our subsequent bulletin. Governors of the 36 states of the Federation have appealed for the design of a nationwide mortgage system that will enable Nigerians borrow at low interest rate to build. This, they say, is the only sustainable way to boost the housing sector. The governors, while expressing gratitude and support to the President, the Federal Executive Council and other stakeholders that put together the Economic Sustainability Plan, also called for the use of the Universal Service Provision Fund provided for the Communication Act of 2003 to expand broadband connectivity to every nook and cranny of the country in view of current needs. State House correspondent Gideon Ifade reports on this and other deliberations at the National Economic Council meeting held virtually and anchored from the office of the Vice President.
The governors applauded the economic sustainability plan of the federal government, without which they say would cause a major contraction of the economy, with the consequent loss of jobs and heightened security threats across the states. The 36 states governors deliberated on the plan and fully support and endorse every part of it. The governors recognized the role that they would have to play in implementing the plan in separate areas.
In agriculture, we are required to provide between 20 and 100,000 hectares of land, which we all committed to providing, but asking for help regarding land clearance, which can be very expensive in some of the southern states. Regarding mass housing, we support the plan of the federal government to build 300,000 homes within 12 months, an average of about 10,000 per state, and we fully support it. And governors committed to providing land with primary infrastructure in suitable locations to ensure that the mass housing program takes off, thereby creating jobs.
The governors also support the plan to have broadband connectivity throughout the country by 2030, but appealed that this should be accelerated and completed within 2021 and latest by early 2022, as most transactions are now done electronically.
We also support the federal government's plan to strengthen and expand our public health system, and we've made specific requests for support to ensure that in every state of the Federation there is at least one general hospital that is well equipped with infectious disease prevention, surveillance and treatment capacity. The governors have also appealed for the sensible unification of the exchange rate in a way that does not disrupt the plans of the monetary authorities.
Generally, we're doing the best we can as a country to open up the economy. The economy is actually opening, but we have to do it in a manner in such a way that we do not cause further health hazards.
We also discussed with NEC the gross revenue that we're expecting from the into the Federation account, which will subsequently be shared. The revised 2020 budget has a total expenditure of 9.116 trillion, while the projection we're making for 2021 budget is at, right now at 9.613 trillion. So after the consultations with NEC and with National Assembly and with the public, we'll now make any adjustments that become necessary before we eventually go to the Federal Executive Council for approval.
They also appreciate plan for the micro, small and medium enterprises and would like to be involved at state levels too. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The House of Representatives says the federal government's power sector recovery program is a necessary step for a turnaround in the sector. It therefore wants all those involved to furnish it with required information for comprehensive legislative intervention. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
It was questions and more questions as stakeholders in both the government and private sector appeared before the House Ad Hoc Committee investigating the power sector preparatory to a holistic review. The committee asks why the federal government is expending billions of naira after privatization, who is to blame for the poor performance, and the age-long question, is electricity a commercial product or social service? Fundamentally, the committee sought the current status of loans, payments and debts. The CBN and the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation are yet to avail the committee with documents.
CBN and even the Accountant General, payment of services to internal and external agencies or commercial agencies. I don't know how this committee can actually conclude and come up with a comprehensive report to guide the House of Representatives without the presence or contribution of key and critical agencies, institutions like the CBN.
The Ministry of Power, Ministry of Finance and Bureau of Public Enterprises gave insights into the roles of their establishments in the power sector reform journey. In another development, House Committee on Reformatory Institutions and the Nigeria Correctional Service have commenced a retreat to strengthen the institution.
Designed to enable the committee come up with appropriate strategic plan that will guide its operational recommendations.
The vision is to establish a credible correctional service which, through excellent penal practices, seek lasting change in offenders' attitudes, values and behavior, and ensure successful reintegration into the society.
The retreat would focus on effective implementation of the Nigeria Correctional Service Act 2019. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
As at 9th July 2020, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control has confirmed 499 new cases of COVID-19. Number of discharged is now 12,546, while death toll is 689. A breakdown of the new figures indicates Lagos has 157, Ondo 56, Oyo 31, Akwa Ibom 22, Borno 21, Plateau 19, Kaduna and Katsina 18 each, while FCT and Bayelsa have 17 cases each. Others are Delta 14, Kano 11, Rivers 10, Enugu 8, Ogun 6, Kwara 4, Imo 3, Nasara and Osun 2 each. Nigeria's efforts at developing solutions to the challenge of non-availability and high cost of COVID-19 diagnostic kits have paid off with the development of RNA Swift test kit. This is an indigenous invention which is a product of biotechnology designed, developed and validated to hold huge potential for Nigeria's plan to scale up testing for COVID-19. Justin Bem Uyim reports.
A record surge of COVID-19 in Africa, which now surpasses 500,000, is perceived by the African Center for Disease Control as a far cry from the actual numbers, following poor testing capacity of many countries on the continent. Nigeria has come forward with a groundbreaking solution following a scientific collaboration between National Biotechnology Development Agency, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Nigeria Institute for Medical Research, and the technical support team at the University of Sheffield to invent a homemade diagnostic kit for COVID-19 that is affordable and very sensitive called RNA Swift.
RNA Swift will reshape our testing approach and bring the power of large-scale and precise testing closer to the people.
The invention was born out of the request from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development to test 5 million Nigerian farmers and farm laborers to ensure that the food security chain is not compromised by COVID-19.
The farming population generally in this country is between the ages of 15 and 45. And that's why this important project is very good for us.
This is Nigeria's gift to Africa.
RNA Swift is an invention that excites as its scientific accuracy and commercial affordability has attracted the attention of the African Development Bank. In Abuja, Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
In other news, Maiduguri International Airport is getting set for resumption of domestic flight tomorrow in the afternoon, with measures being put in place for the control and containment of COVID-19 spread among passengers and officials. Paul Nkujavana takes a look at the preparations so far for passenger airline operations more than 3 months after suspension.
It is more than 3 months now since the federal government suspended passenger aircraft operations within and outside the country to manage and stop the spread of COVID-19. Here at Maiduguri International Airport, preparation to reopen operations have been concluded in response to the guidelines set by the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, against the spread of the coronavirus pandemic. According to the General Manager, Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, Maiduguri International Airport, Mohammed Nazib Saidu, the airport has been rated 85% in terms of implementation of COVID-19 procedures for the safety of passengers and officials.
Based on the directives from headquarters and NCA, we're able to do much. You can see we have a center here, emergency center, we have doctors, and we have enough nurses that actually conduct temperature tests. We bought sanitizers, we bought a lot of things, even the infrared thermometer.
In collaboration with Borno State government, some of the signs provided speak for itself. 6 feet distancing, hygiene facilities stationed at entrances of departure and arrival, as well as at strategic places inside the terminal lounges. The entire airport perimeter operational areas, including restricted zones, are prepared for the restart of activities. In Maiduguri, Paul Nkujavana, NTA News.
It is rainy season as all eyes are on government to encourage health, sanitation and flood control so as to significantly reduce the risk of COVID-19 in the wake of increasing cases in Nigeria. It is also the duty of citizens to promote hygienic living to keep individuals and communities safe from disease. Memna Garba reports.
Ensuring health, sanitation and flood control will go a long way in containing further spread of COVID-19 and other common tropical diseases that are abound during the rainy season, especially when personal and environmental hygiene are always observed. Rainy season, which is usually characterized with flood and blocked drainages, Borno State government, aside battling with COVID-19, is making frantic efforts in ensuring that citizenry live in a clean and healthy environment. To shed more light on effort of government in this regard, I have with me General Manager, Borno State Environmental Protection Agency. Sir, what is government doing in order to control floods in highly populated areas in the midst of COVID-19?
The governor has constituted a committee, high-power committee in control of the flood and then another desilting of the drainages. So this committee was constituted on 15th of June and we have commenced working, and we are right now here in Kormela side because this drainage had been covered sometimes in 2015. So the drainage was filled up, so therefore we have to clear. This drainage is taking almost the volume of water of 25% covering within the Maiduguri metropolis. So if we do not desil this drainage, honestly there are going to be a backflow of water, and we are trying to avoid any possible outbreak within the community.
Okay, sir, how do you ensure community imbibe the culture of enhanced hygiene as one of the safety protocols against the pandemic?
The most important, if the political head has interest and he's determined to do the activities, definitely those that elected him into the power will comply with the directive given to them. So we are not going to have much problem because the governor has interest and has passion in trying to control things and give attention to curtail any problem that may arise within the community. So therefore, we now set our team, the environmental health officers, which we have almost about 450 of them within the agency, and now we have started giving them some training, which immediately by July, they will now start going house to house as a home visitors. And we make sure that our people will comply by clearing their drainages, make sure all their water posts are being cleaned within their houses.
With this effort by government, it is expected that citizens do their part by improving personal and community hygiene to check COVID-19 and other diseases. It's back to you in the studio.
Thank you. Thank you, Memuna. Report just reaching us, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the immediate suspension of Ibrahim Magu as acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in order to allow for unhindered inquiry by the Presidential Investigation Panel under the Tribunal of Inquiry Act and other relevant laws. This is contained in a statement issued by Dr. Umar Jibril Gwandu, Special Assistant on Media and Public Relations, Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, made available to newsmen on Friday, the 10th day of July 2020. According to the statement, President Muhammadu Buhari has also approved that the EFCC Director of Operations, Mohamed Umar, should take charge and oversee the activities of the Commission, pending the conclusion of the ongoing investigation and further directives in that regard. We now pause for a commercial break. Panorama continues shortly.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
Welcome back. The need to promote accountability in COVID-19 response processes of resource management, distribution of palliative and patient care was the focus of a sensitization training for civil society organizations and journalists in Yobe State. It was organized by the Yobe State government in partnership with United Kingdom Department for International Development as part of the campaign to ensure citizens take responsibility in the fight against coronavirus pandemic. Yunusa Suleiman reports.
Participants were drawn from broadcast and print media organizations, as well as civil society groups operating in Yobe State, as the sensitization workshop seeks to, among other things, sharpen the skills of the frontline journalists and activists in respect to COVID-19 pandemic reportage and advocacy. Facilitators at the workshop dwelt extensively on strategies and standard infection precautions for media workers, proper use of PPE and ideal hand wash, as well as communicating the right messages on COVID-19 to the general public, among others.
And this sensitization workshop will greatly assist me and assist us as working journalists in Yobe State in informing and enlightening people about preventive measures of COVID-19.
Day in, day out, there are new protocols and guidelines coming out. I have learned about the most recent guidelines and protocols in terms of COVID-19 prevention and control.
The representative of Yobe State government and the State Commissioner for Information, Abdullahi Bego, commended journalists in the state for continuously informing and educating the public on the dangers of COVID-19. He urged the media practitioners to sustain the tempo.
This sensitization is important because if you look at it, like they said, room for improvement is the biggest space in the world. You know something that you are doing day by day, but you need to arm yourself with more information, more scientific evidence, more knowledge, so you can do the job even better.
Observers are of the view that with such sensitization, the gap in the fight against COVID-19 could be filled up, and will also fast-track transparency and accountability in the COVID-19 response effort in the state. In Damatru, Yunusa Suleiman, NTA News.
The community is now center stage of COVID-19 transmission, with new cases increasing and area of spread widening. While this is ongoing, there is continued disregard for safety protocols in many areas. We are now into a stage of a phased reopening of the economy, lifting of lockdown and interstate ban on movement, with schools resuming for graduating classes. This is time for scaling up of safety protocols in the community to prevent COVID-19 worst cases scenario. It is necessary for citizens to imbibe culture of safety to prevent further spread of the disease through following protocols many are disregarding, and most carriers of coronavirus pandemic asymptomatic, with potentials to infect large numbers unprotected. How can this challenge be surmounted? How can the community rise up to shield itself from COVID-19? With me to discuss this issue this afternoon is the Chairman Network for Civil Society Organizations in Borno State, Ambassador Ahmed Shehu. You're welcome to Panorama.
Thank you for that.
And we'll begin.
Thank you.
Civil society organizations have been at the forefront of mobilizing citizens for effective community response to the prevention of spread of coronavirus pandemic. How are the people taking the campaign?
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Mohamed. Well, actually, naturally, with the insertion of anything in life, people participate in one way or the other. For the COVID-19 pandemic, it comes with a loss and then the high side. Like the high side of it is the communities started realizing and accepting the pandemic when some prominent personalities from the community started being infected, and then unfortunately they lost their life. One example I can give is the chief of staff to the president, traditional rulers, religious leaders, and other people that actually lost their life on this. So this makes people to begin to understand why the low side of it is there are a lot of divergent information from this, from the media and then the social media, and that's make people difficult for them to really understand. But at the end, people have to accept it because of the economic shocks they experience as a result of the lockdown that were introduced by the government.
Okay, there are increasing cases of COVID-19 at the community level, despite the safety protocols serving as most acceptable and reliable measures for containment. Why is this so?
Well, the safety measures usually, in terms of this, is what is making it difficult for people to really understand and then curtail it is because of the behavior of the people. People find it very difficult to be even accept the fact and to even observe the protocols. Then some of those issues that is also increasing the infection in the community is lack of less adherence to the protocol. Like inability for people to have behavioral change, and then even a poor case management is also one thing that's really making it difficult for people to accept that.
Okay, now with the relaxation of lockdown, lifting ban on interstate movement, resumption of flight, phased reopening of economy, and now schools, what is expected from communities, and how can we stimulate their participation?
Well, one thing we need to, one way we can do that is from learning, using the lesson we learned from the lockdown to ensure that we adopt to the existing practices. And I think religious and traditional rulers should also be used to sensitize their followers on the need to agree that it exists so that we can be able to observe the protocol so that the society will be better for all.
Thank you, Chairman. Next up, Borno State, Ambassador Ahmed Shehu, for coming on Panorama.
Thank you for the opportunity.
On to sports, Nigerian golfers relish possible return to action. Kene Ima Abudike brings us more on Sports Update.
The latest move by the Ministry of Youth and Sport Development to restart competitive activities with individual and non-contact sport is generating reactions from golfers in the country who believe the sport complies with preventive measures of COVID-19.
Professional golfers will make our ends from playing tournaments. Of course, since March to this point, that means nothing to take home. And of course, when you're when you keep drawing and taking from the pause and you're not replacing it, before you know it, get empty, it will dry up.
It's a good move in the right direction because if you see in every other part of the world, sports like golf, tennis are beginning to be back in play. You know, so these are sports that naturally encourage social distancing, and I think that the case should not be different in our country.
The COVID-19 pandemic has continued to adversely affect major global sporting events, with this year's Ryder Cup becoming the latest to be hit on the golf calendar. Organizers say medical experts and public authorities in Wisconsin, United States, could not guarantee the safety of thousands of spectators in September. The 6-team Asia Cup T20 has also been cancelled as the Pakistani Cricket Board confirms that they have agreed to host the event in 2022, while Sri Lanka is now expected to host it next year following the cancellation of this year's edition. Meanwhile, the 2020 traditional marathon and semi-marathon of Brussels will now take place in October 2021 due to the expected high number of foreign participants. Kenan Ima Abudike, NTA News.
All for Panorama from the Maiduguri studios of the NTA. Good afternoon.